If you clicked into this video, you probably think that chasing money is a bad goal. But I'm going to go over why that may not actually be the case, but also some things that you could chase instead. When we're talking about chasing money, we're really talking about trying to make money for the sake of making money. Here's my hot take. If you can't afford to pay rent, feed yourself, or if you have big debt, you should 1000% focus on money. Make money your life's purpose, at least for now. Get your ducks in a row, pay off your debt, and learn basic financial habits that will help you reach financial literacy. But if you're not in this situation, stop. Let me repeat that, stop. If you don't have to worry about how to pay rent or where your next meal is coming from, then you're making a huge mistake if money is your sole focus. If you're fortunate enough to be in this situation, you need to ask yourself, what do you want all that money for anyway? There's actually a story that illustrates this idea perfectly. An American investment banker was sitting at the pier in a small Mexican village. A small boat with just one fisherman pulled up, and in the boat there were several large yellowfin tuna. The American complimented the Mexican on the quality of his fish and asked him how long it took him to catch them. The fisherman said, "Only a little while." And in reply, the American asked, "Why didn't you stay out and catch more?" The fisherman said that he had caught enough fish to fulfill his family's immediate needs. So in response, the American says, "Well, what do you do with the rest of your time?" The Mexican fisherman said, "I sleep late, I fish a little bit, I spend time with my children, I take my wife out to dinner, I drink wine, I spend time playing music with my friends. I have a pretty busy life." The American scoffed and he said, "I'm a Harvard MBA and I can help you. You should spend more time fishing, and with your proceeds, buy a larger boat. With the proceeds from a larger boat, you could buy several boats. And eventually, you would have an entire fleet of fishing boats. Then, instead of selling to a middleman, you would sell directly to the processor, eventually cutting the processor out and opening a cannery on your own. You would control the product, processing, and distribution. You would need to leave this small Mexican fishing village to go to Mexico City, and then LA, and then New York, where you will run your expanding empire." Astutely, the Mexican fisherman asked, "But how long will this take?" The American replied, "Maybe 15 or 20 years. Then the Mexican fisherman replies, "But what then?" The American laughed and said, "Well, this is the best part. When the time is right, you'll announce an IPO and sell your company through stocks to the public and make a ton of money. You'd make millions." The Mexican replied, "Millions? Then what?" The American said, "Then you would retire. You'd move to a small coastal fishing village where you would sleep late, fish a little, play with your kids, take your wife out to dinner, and play music with your friends." I love this story because it gets right to the heart of the problem with American hustle culture. It also really gets you to think about the question that I brought up before the story, which is, what do you want to do with all that money? Because if you think about it, the American businessman and the Mexican fisherman both wanted the same things. Ultimately, they wanted freedom to live their life the way that they wanted to provide for themselves with food and shelter, and to spend time with friends and family. At the end of the day, that's all they really wanted. But the fisherman spent his entire life doing the things that he wanted to do, living his dream life, whereas the American businessman had to give up 15 to 20 years of his life just to live the same lifestyle. If you think about it, we really only get 4 to 5 20-year periods in our life. And the first one is taken up because we're growing up, and the last one is sort of taken up because we're getting old and our physical limitations make our lives not the same. So you really only have 3 20-year chunks of life between your 20s and your 80s, which are kind of like your prime years. So why give up a third of it to something that you don't even like doing? And let's not forget that that scenario was very optimistic. Most Americans work for an average of 42 years before they retire, so almost twice as long as the American businessman in our story. That means that most people give up 2/3 of their prime years for something that they don't enjoy or want to do. That seems like a huge waste. Obviously, there's some caveats to this logic. First of all, perhaps the businessman really enjoyed his work and wouldn't look at those 15 to 20 years as a waste of time. But a lot of people don't enjoy their work. They don't enjoy the sacrifices that they have to make in order to keep a 9-to-5 job and work 40 hours or more a week. Number 2, perhaps the businessman would have gotten bored of the same lifestyle of fishing every day, spending time with friends and family. Maybe it wasn't all that it's cracked up to be. And third, Theoretically, the American businessman is better off in general because over that time, over that 15 to 20 year career, he did save up money that creates sort of a cushion for him to weather any storm or unexpected event. For example, if the fish aren't biting today, then the Mexican will be forced to figure out how to get his dinner from some other place, whereas the American could tap into his savings account and buy something from another fisherman, for instance. That's just one example, but there's some benefits that the American businessmen get from having saved up all this extra capital over time. But I think the takeaway from this story is that life is way too short to be spending decades of your life doing something that you don't enjoy. Because anytime you don't know what your life's purpose or passions are, you're wasting your time not doing things that you love. If you don't know what you like and what you want to spend your time doing, you best start looking. Don't just blindly chase the image of success that society paints for us, because that is misleading. That vision is pretty much painted to help fill the pockets of the rich. Think for yourself and figure out what you want from this life. It's your life after all. No one else can live it for you, and impressing others isn't going to help you with anything. I think ultimately the problem with chasing money is that it's a really sloppy answer to the question of what is your purpose, what is your passion, what do you live for? Right? I think it's kind of like a cop-out. Because society tells us that to be successful, we have to accumulate a lot of money, right? We have to have certain status symbols, certain items, materialistic things, right? But that's just not true. And I think people believe that because they don't have a better answer. But maybe you should think about it. Maybe you should focus on trying to figure out what that purpose is, what that thing is that you actually want to do, instead of just putting in, oh, well, to be successful, I have to make money. So therefore, I'm going to focus on making money. But I think the world would be a lot cooler and better of a place if instead people focused on the things that they were kind of meant to do, or the things that they're good at, or the things that can contribute to the world, right? I think instead of just saying by default that, oh, well, if I want to be successful and if I want to be ambitious, then I have to make money. I think that the money will come if you're able to focus on and find the things that you're really uniquely good at. And I think that process is very challenging, and I get why people make money the goal and chase money. It's because it's so much easier to do that, to make that your goal, than to find the things that you're really meant to do. So what I'm saying is you got to put in the work. You got to find the thing. It's not easy, but you should do it because it's going to be so much more worth it in the long run. And you're going to be so much more likely to succeed. And you're going to be so much more unique because there's a million, trillion, billion people out there trying to chase money. You'll just be one of those. And the people who really, really make it are the people who can find something unique, right? A unique skill that will help them stand out and provide value in a leveraged way that no one else could do. There's a really interesting exercise or thought experiment that you can do if you are one of these people who is chasing money but thinks that maybe there's something else that you're meant to do. And the experiment is basically to imagine yourself once you've reached that goal, right? Whatever your financial goal is, imagine that you've already achieved it. And then kind of think about okay, well, what would you do then? Right? Because ultimately, that's the thing that you should be doing, is the thing that you want to be doing when you're done accumulating your money. And I understand that people have bills, right? It costs a lot to live, especially in California where I am, or in the US in general. It's fairly expensive to live. So you definitely need to take care of your finances, but don't let that dictate your life. There's an opportunity cost to focusing all your energy on maximizing your income and not spending energy on the things that you're passionate about or things that could be your purpose or passion. There's an interesting idea that when people are committing suicide, they know whether they want to die or not once they take the first step off the bridge. It's already too late to save yourself, but in that instant they say that right, based on that feeling, whether you want to die or not. There's a lot of stories of people who take that step and they realize that they want to live. So they jump off a bridge and sometimes they survive and they have a whole new life because of that one step where they realized that life is precious. So I think if you can really think about that question, think about what it is that you're working for, what it is that you're hoping to do once you've reached your financial goal, I think that's the thing that you should start doing now. And maybe not like quit your job right now and do that thing, but like start doing that on the side. Start like learning after work, whatever that thing is, like that interest that you have that's kind of been nipping at you for a long time. Another way to find this is sometimes like thinking about as a kid, what were the things that you really like to do? A lot of times as we grow up, we lose the hobbies that we were just naturally drawn to. But those things that we were naturally drawn to could be things that we're kind of meant to do. So just to reiterate, it's actually not that bad of a thing to chase money. You know, from a practical standpoint, money is very valuable and you need to get to a certain level to be financially stable. And in another video, I'm going to be talking about why financial independence should be your first goal. But what I do think is happening a lot is people mistake that for making it their life purpose, their life goal to accumulate money or to reach a certain point. And I think that's wrong. I think that accumulating money is helpful to a point, but really the main goal, the main meat of life is trying to figure out what your purpose is, what your passions are, what you want to spend your life doing. And, you know, making money is probably not that, because money isn't that valuable, right? In the grand scheme of things, money is valuable for survival, but beyond that, finding something that you really enjoy doing with your time, a skill, whatever, a specific domain of study, something you can go deep on, like over a long period of time, that is what gives your life purpose. That's where you're going to find your life's work, not in making money. So chase that. Whatever that thing is, the thing that lights your fire, right? The thing that you get excited about, the thing that you enjoy talking about with your friends, like they can't get you to shut up, you know, the thing that you spend like hours at like 2 a.m. reading about, like those are the things that probably excite you the most. And like those are the things that maybe you should spend more time really getting into it and spend your time chasing those things. Maybe it's not such a bad thing. Trying to give you permission to explore your interests, regardless of whether it has any kind of monetary outcome or not. You know, that's what you should chase, not money.